just know, I can't do this.
Hello, I'm Steve from Track Rekord. Welcome to our channel. This is a place where you can find videos about cars and about how to drive cars. So in order not to miss out, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. A while ago, I had the opportunity to visit Killarney Raceway with my friend and colleague, Kai Goddard, professional race car driver. And again, last winter at Chuckwalla in California, he got up to speed in a couple of laps while I was taking a session or two to become comfortable with the track. What struck me was how quickly he was able to familiarize himself with the track. So that led me to think, what is he doing differently? So Kai has now joined us. Welcome, Kai.
Thank you, Steve.
And we're going to pick your brains today about how you get so incredibly fast on track when you really don't know the tracks. But I want you to spill the beans on what makes you so good. So when you arrive at a new track, what do you do?
There's a lot of homework, obviously, that you want to do ahead of time. But I think one of the reasons why we've been able to adapt so quickly to new tracks is that for me, when I was younger racing, and you get the opportunity or you get the phone call or someone just rings out the blue and says, hey, you're driving. It's your shot. You're going to this track and you're driving this car. And you know that you've got only 2 or 3 practice sessions before your race, that you have no other choice than to get good and get quick in a hurry, right? So that you can shine and do your job as a driver. So a lot of that stuff was just being under the gun, just having no choice other than to figure this out. So you find ways to get quick. I think we're lucky that we live in a time where it's easy to go and look at data. It's easy to go to YouTube and watch someone in a similar car, even at a track that you know you're going to, rain or shine. There's information and data there that wasn't around when I was young. So a lot of what I used to figure out the track was walking the track, speaking to people that have been there. If I'm at a track the day prior or even the morning of, is to really push and see if you can go for a ride in a safety vehicle or in a pace car, or if you can do a lead follow or let someone take your rental car out on track. Anything, ride a bicycle, walk it, anything you can, just to get eyes on it ahead of time is key.
Okay, so I mean, let's use a concrete example. When we turned up at Killarney, however long ago that was now,
yeah.
Seems like another age. What did you do? Because for fear of embarrassing myself, you were like 10 seconds a lap faster than me right out of the gate. So what did you do?
So I remember clearly watching some of the in-car video from the V8 Masters series. It wasn't really about the line. For me, it was about the braking points and the shifting points. I wanted to hear that and get a real sense of it. So I watched the in-car video. So I watched it a few times on the plane, and watched it again one time in England, and then felt like I was ready to go to Killarney. I remember getting there. The first thing that we did I knew I was going to do this. And again, you got to push for this. Sometimes it's hard to do. Is I made sure that you and I got to go for a ride around the track in a small little rental car.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, but the key to it was we got to see the track, but we also got to ride as a passenger with somebody that gets to test those cars all the time and knew the line. I remember the one right-hander where he said, you got to go down the center, not to the left, because there's a lot of road crown. You fall off to the left, your entry's down the center. I remember picking up on that right away. That track had a really odd curbing set in runoff. It was bumpy. There's a lot of places to get yourself into trouble there. So, but for me, I felt good with the homework I did in watching in-car video from somebody that was very fast in those cars at that track.
So you've done your homework and you're at the track. What do you do to accelerate your learning once you're actually on the track?
In a car like that, you're opening a few laps, you've got to build some temp. So while the tires are being warmed and you're getting the brakes warmed up and you're getting your own heart warmed up. It's that time, it's the warm up, the 2 or 3 warm up laps is to try to just piece it all together. And, you know, while I was driving those laps, I'm thinking about the YouTube videos. I'm thinking about the ride we just took in the rental car. I'm already looking around to confirm everything that was told to me by the ride along that we had. I was also trying to confirm that all of my own thoughts and ideas I'd made by watching the videos were all aligned. So those 2 or 3 laps during the warm up, you just kind of look around and, you know, and then there's a part of me that's just like, okay, I'm ready. And you go for it. I remember it wasn't until probably the 5th or 6th lap that I was really comfortable going really deep down into turn 1. So so you go under the bridge and you go all the way down to where the pit lane wall on the right ended. That's the braking marker for any hot shoe in that series. I sure as hell wasn't braking there right away. It took me a while, if not to the beginning of the 2nd session, before I was braking there. But I was braking there because I felt I could do it, but you also know you could do it because you watch the videos too.
Okay, I mean, you mentioned the 2nd session there. What should a club driver or somebody who's doing an HPDE, how should they use the sessions?
The first session should be all about familiarization, learning the line, your braking points, your turn-in points, your apex, your exits. It's all about building a sense of muscle memory and making sure you understand explicitly where this track goes. So nobody, if you're new to this sport, should ever try to set the world on fire the first, if not 2nd or 3rd session. We tell people all the time when we're on the road, especially with newer drivers, we're not really going to run any data or even look at lap times until the afternoon. Or if we do get some data, it's only so that we can show them how far they've come from Saturday morning to like a Sunday evening. But you have to take the mindset of, I'm here to study and build what I need to connect all these corners.
Okay, so what are you looking for in those early sessions? You know, we always talk about reference points. What are you actually looking at or for?
Well, I'm going to go through what I always tell people. It is absolutely reference points. It's in getting comfortable with the track. It's in knowing where you can pass, where you can be passed. It's braking. It's also, and one thing people often overlook is get a sense of where all the corner workers are so that you can catch them out of the corner of your eye when needed. Just take a look at where all of that is so that when you're ready to go quicker, when there's more traffic, you're safer, you're better prepared to go quick. Another thing is if you're in a session and you know someone's quicker than you or has a similar card than you, if someone's like, this is my 3rd trip here and I'm running this lap time and I feel pretty good, that guy's your best friend. If you don't have a driver coach with you, follow that guy. Everyone's so happy and helpful at these events. No one's going to say no. So find someone to go follow.
I mean, just coming back to reference points, I remember at Chuck Waller, after that 1st session, I asked you about the line through that left-hander going up over the hill. And you said, I'm aiming at the post. And I hadn't even noticed that post. So how do you pick up on reference points with so much other stuff going on around you?
A lot of times you'll find reference points in that warm-up lap. So if you haven't found a way to walk the track, watch any video, any of that, the warm-up lap is so critical. Look for your reference points during those laps, but also work on your rhythm. I'm a 50-50 blend of reference points and seat of the pants, just the feel for it.
Coming back to club drivers going to a new track, what tips would you have for them, or a driver like myself? If you remember, I had a huge spin at Killarney because I waited way too long to brake into one of the fast corners. So how do you not do that?
A lot of it, again, is the preparation ahead of time. So I watched in-car video enough to where I remember everything about what a fast lap is supposed to sound like. So preparation is key. Building yourself up to those types of speeds. Taking small bites at it. So remember I was saying I knew up front where I could brake, but I wasn't going to try it until I had 10, 15 laps in that car to brake where the championship winning guy was braking, right? So I can get a feel for it.
Talking about spins, let's say, heaven forbid, you're on your track day and you have a spin. So how can you recover from that spin? Not just in the moment of that spin, but mentally afterwards, after you've been brought in and had a talking to.
So before we touch on that, I'm going to go back to the laps that you ideally need to do in a rental car or the pace car or the safety truck or the bicycle the night before. Another thing I do, and I remember doing this at Killarney, is while we're looking around, a small part of your repertoire needs to, again, be about safety. So where's the runoff? Where's the corner workers? But if something big happens here, where am I going to go? There's so much to be said for just making a little mental timestamp in your head of that before you really send it in a car and go to that 100 to 110% mark. So, and this is something we're all big at Track Rekord, you know, when we're out on the road, is to address, hey, this is a quick corner. I know you're going to be shifting here. This is all happening, but if anything does happen here, where are you going to look? When that moment happens, that little thing in your head's going to go off, and it's going to help you if you have to spin. Ideally, go spin in a safer direction. But there's somebody that we're working with in a few weeks at Summit Point in Virginia, and this driver had a spin, and they got back on the track over the weekend for the first time again, and I was able to work them through that. The way we approach it is spins are inevitably going to happen. When they do happen, ideally you spin the right way, and then as soon as it happens, you make a mental note of what happened so that you can learn from it, right? So don't ever feel bad about a spin. It's the process of learning, right? We're doing something where we are driving cars at the limit, and we're really taxing ourselves physically and mentally. If we're trying to get up against this line, sometimes we're going to cross it, but when you do cross it and you bring it back a little bit, you've found that sweet spot on the track, on that lap or in that corner. So we always find the good in spins. You should never feel bad about one. That alone allows someone to get back up on the horse, and I'm like, I'm going to do that again. As long as we remind them, do you remember what happened that led up to that? Don't do that again, right? Just dial it back, one log off the fire, and you probably hit your marks, and you're doing what you need in that section of the track.
And treat it as a learning experience, right?
Always. Oh yeah. Yep.
But you know, if I'm doing a track day with, let's say, Hooked on Driving, I don't have the luxury of doing a track tour beforehand. So what do I do?
Quite often you don't have that luxury. What I've started seeing is there was a track event we did at Firebird, and I was actually at COTA. And right after the morning warm-up that I did to warm our client's car up, they said, there's the bus there. And they said, we're taking, the tours are beginning. You can go for this bus ride around COTA for that very reason. It was amazing. I think Chin Track Days did it. So there's a bus there, and everyone hopped on this bus, and it tootled around the track for a few laps. So you could see it. I think some track day.
That's the exception rather than the rule, though.
It is, yeah. I say that because I think it's a great idea. And I've noticed it twice now, but the majority of the time there isn't that opportunity. What racetracks are pretty good at, if you can somehow get there the night before, if track operations end at 5, I've found a lot of success and been lucky in just simply asking. That's how I wrote it down here. Sometimes you got to push for things. Find a way to get around the track. If they let you jog it, walk it, skateboard it, bicycle it, just get out there and have a look. That's huge. YouTube again and Vimeo, all of those tools, those apps are amazing because there's always a way to take a look at the track.
Now I'm just thinking of that day we did, or 2 days we did with Speed Ventures, and I was kind of hoping to familiarize myself with the track on the outlap, but the group I was in, the outlap was at 8/10, so you didn't get any time. You were just thrown straight into it.
Yeah, a lot of these track day organizations, they know that that the green's going to be waved on that outlap when you come back down through start finish. And a lot of organizations, the folks that even run it, are encouraging you, just please get going, that lap, so that we can get into a rhythm. But I think a lot of it is also in being honest with yourself and making sure you're in a run group that is aligned with your capability. I've also seen some drivers that are like, yeah, no, I'm advanced. I'm doing this. Especially if you get to a new track that you don't know well, sign up for the novice or intermediate beginner group. Even though you're an accomplished driver, just sign up in that group so you can learn the track at your own pace. And then you can, set yourself up for success in taking that approach. And we've done that before with a handful of clients. And just to say, I know you're this good. Let's go in this group, figure the track out, take our time. When you start lapping everybody, let's go to the organizer. I'll go with you. Say, I'm ready for my blue wristband. And that's a wonderful way to approach it, because when I did a warm up at COTA at one of the events, and I was out there with Porsche Cup cars and Ferrari Challenge cars with all the advanced guys, and you had to go. I mean, you got to send it. So take that approach too. Sign up for the right group at the right time.
Talking about track days where sessions are run, what should we be doing with the downtime between sessions?
I'm a huge fan of sitting down, grabbing a drink, a cup of coffee. We go through video extensively. So we always run a video loop or record from the roof of the car so that we can just go through that in sessions. So some of our clients even have big screen televisions in their trailers now for that reason. So we just go straight with a small SD card into the TV or into an iPad or any device that you have here. We go through the video together. I also encourage drivers to have this open discussion, no different really than a Formula One weekend, where I encourage them to tell me stories. What's the grip level like? It's a lot hotter today than it was yesterday. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the traffic and, how does your car feel? Did you know you have no fuel in the tank? So your car is way lighter today than it was yesterday, just to get people engaged from a vehicle dynamic standpoint. So talking is key. And then as the day or track event progresses, start getting into data, because there's nothing better when you're ready for data than data, because it's simple math. The lower the lap times go, the lower your sectors go, the higher your cornering speeds. It's just instant proof of progression. So it's a blend of all of that, and getting more intense with data as we progress as well.
Let's go down that path a little further. So a lot of HPDE organizations don't allow lap timers. Should I use one anyway?
I believe you should, but you got to take the right approach. You don't want the lap timer running so that you can break the lap record at that track, or try to one up your friend. That all of that can happen later, but and you have to watch it. There's a lot of events that we've even ran where we haven't allowed timing or lap times. But looking back at those events, it's only because they were short events. Like our charity event, I'm not that interested in what people's lap times are there that day. I'm more interested in them having fun and learning. If that was a 2 or 3 day event, we might start looking into that the third day maybe, right? So, but there really is no, for drivers that want to improve, there's nothing better than data, obviously, right? But I think you have to be very honest with yourself and use the data to learn, not to just go out there and try to smash the lap record. I like the kind of data we use because we can digest it after the fact. A lot of lap timers are in your face and they're turning green and red and green and red and giving you all this information. That in itself is a distraction. It's good to use down the road when you're ready for it.
Well, personally, I like to use the timer display just to see how consistent I'm being. I know you can feel how consistent you are, but it's good to have that reference just like on the straightaway at the end of the lap, just looking at it and saying, okay, I was within 3/10 of my best lap or whatever.
Right. Yeah. No, it's we love data. We love using Lit Pro. It's it has its place for sure. And when the next trip we take, we're gonna be with a very new driver. And I'm actually here's the other thing. I like to run it on a car when they don't know it, right? So and then on the second day when we're really becoming proficient in the car, I'll actually show them, just so you know, I recorded your first session. You are now 15 seconds faster, or whatever it happened to be over the course of 2 days. I enjoy doing that. So as a learning tool, it's great. Just got to approach it the right way.
Well, not be fixated on the lap timer.
Exactly. Yep. Just use it to, I gained a 10th here. I gained a second here. I'm 5 miles an hour faster on my exit, but be honest with yourself.
And a lot of time I use it, like, even though it gives me the instantaneous lap time and predictive lap time and delta, I'm not actually looking at it that much on the track, because if you're looking at your lap timer, you're not looking at the track, which is where you should be looking. But I often use it when I get out of the car and just look at the history and say, okay, these are my best 3 laps, or this was how consistent I was.
Yeah. Another thing I wrote down here before I forget is no matter what level you're at as an enthusiast driver, if you go to a new track, while you're learning that track, especially if it has a lot of elevation and there's a lot of corners and there's a lot of things that you're trying to stitch together, just run with the stability control on. There's no harm in leaving it on while you learn a track. In case you get into a rhythm section and you think you're going left and you cross a hill and it's going right, that's something I also encourage. Half the time I do it myself too, just because I'm more focused on the track and learning it than driving the car.
Actually, when I took the McLaren out for the first time last year, I left everything on just so I could get used to the car and how different the track was in that car.
Exactly. And then when you're proficient in understanding this track, if you turn it off, right? But it doesn't hurt to have it on.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a nice segue into my next question. Is for the person that's going to, let's say, their first track day, how can they get the most out of that day and come away from it with a big smile on their face rather than being disappointed?
It's leaving faster and more proficient and more confident than you showed up. It's leaving with your car in one piece on the trailer or driving it home. It's making it to the hotel bar with your car perfectly sitting on the trailer. And with a lot of that, I like setting goals. So with a lot of our drivers, we reach out to them the weeks leading up to it or the night before, and we just say, hey, here's what we're going to focus on today. And then the biggest thing at Track Rekord that we do is listen carefully and make sure that everything is custom tailored. The message, the coaching program. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Where have you been? Where are you? Where do you want to go? What do you want to focus on? So we listen to that. We write it all down. So now we've got a list of things we want to hit. And I have that list. I always write it down. It's on an iPad or in my pocket, and the satisfaction at the end of that day is in knowing that we hit everything that we wanted to work on and we became more proficient at all of it. And the car's in one piece and you're happy and that you're enjoying yourself. I've been to certain events with people that are just so red misted and so that I wonder if they're having fun, right? So it's meant to be fun as well. Right? So are you learning? Are you going fast? Are you safe and having fun?
At the start of that day, there's always a driver's meeting, and a lot of people blow that off thinking it's a waste of time. So why should they bother with the driver's meeting?
They are important because different organizations do different things. They have different rules, different approaches to things. They have different flagging procedures, which is huge. And then again, if you get to new tracks, it's really important to go to the drivers' meetings because they will tell you things that are unique to that track, such as when I was 18 years old and I made it to Moroso, which is now West Palm Beach International Raceway. They said, if you ever go off of turn 1 and end up over the tire wall or somehow make it into the pond/swamp, get out of your car and sit on your roof. And I'm like, okay. Ask the question, why?
Alligators, maybe?
Yes, stay in your car. Okay, because there's an alligator in turn one. Some tracks have weepers where maybe the track's dry, but it rained like crazy the night before, so it's dry everywhere. But someone's going to say in the driver's meetings, just so you know, the apex of turn 4, which is flat out in 5th gear, is wet. You might want to know that driver's meeting. So I think driver's meetings are really important. What's been pretty interesting lately with the direction track days are going with trying to be on point with what's happening with COVID is it's turning the driver's meetings into something even more interesting and easier than ever. One of the last events we were at, I knew that we weren't on track until 9:30, but the driver's meeting was at 6, but they decided to do it on YouTube live. And I've seen it on Facebook Live, where you can be at the hotel with a cup of coffee. You can watch the whole meeting. They can take attendance, and if you have a question, you type it in the comments. And it was amazing. But you never want to miss a meeting, because there's something there that you could miss that could be a real problem.
Well, apart from anything else, different organizations have different rules for passing.
That too.
And I remember at Speed Ventures, they said the cool down lap should be done quickly to get you off track so we can get the next group on track. And
yeah,
if you hadn't been there, you would wonder why the hell were people passing you on the cool down lap.
You want to play well with others. You don't want to be that guy that, at the end of the day has ran the track day behind 10 to 20 minutes.
Now, I know the answer to this question is that if you have the opportunity to ride along with somebody, you should absolutely take it. But how do you get that opportunity? How do you approach people to say, can I come ride with you?
Most people are actually going to be willing to do that. In every case that I've seen it happen, the person that is being asked is oftentimes flattered, because it means that you believe that they're driving efficiently, that they're fast and safe, right? That they're going to bring you back. These track events are so friendly, and everyone's there willing to help each other, because no one's racing wheel to wheel. Everyone's there to have fun. It's their holiday. It's their time off. It's their passion. So they'll help you. But definitely choose wisely. If I was a track day enthusiast and I was looking for that opportunity, I would watch a few sessions before I made a decision. I wouldn't just go to the shiniest object car and say, can I come with you?
And if somebody asks you if they can ride along with you, my one piece of advice would be don't show off.
Right. Yeah, no, it's precious cargo. Pull it back to 8/10. But a lot of times the demonstration lap or showing someone a new track isn't worth doing it at 10/10 as an instructor or a pro driver. The other thing about doing it at 10/10, the person you're with might try to replicate that and get into trouble as well. So find someone in the beginner group to go for a ride with. Someone that's good in that one, and just look around, figure it out.
For the people who've done multiple track days and they're saying, well, it's not the first time at this track, but I want to improve. What's your advice for those people?
So without being biased here, I would recommend getting some level of professional coaching. That's the logical next step, right? There's so many people that we work with that have hit a plateau, and they're going to stay there until there's somebody that can work with them and dissect their strengths and weaknesses and focus on things and really dive into what's happening here.
I mean, look at professional sportsmen who are at the peak of their abilities. They all have coaches. So even if you are number one in the world, you still need somebody to help you get better.
When it comes time to coaching, or how you invest in improving yourself, this has happened quite often over the past few months, and I've had this very familiar conversation with a handful of different people telling me all of the really cool parts that they're putting on their car. Like, we're going to do this turbo, and we're going to get this part and this go fast part, and we're going to do this wing, and we're going to do this and put slicks on it. It happens so often that people will spend $30,000 upgrading their car with all of these really cool parts that they see online, but they won't spend a dime on coaching. And someone in a completely stock car of the same make and model, one off the showroom, one with $30,000 of bells and whistles, an accomplished driver, someone that can drive efficiently, can go faster than this car that has all the Christmas parts on it, right?
Driver instruction is one of the best performance modifications you can buy, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but people can also review their own in-car video and be critical about it. They can also send us their in-car video from a prior session, and we can give them a game plan for the day, right?
Exactly. You know, there's other things that if you can't have a pro driver with you, make sure you know who you're surrounding yourself with at the track, right? You're going to make friends at the track. There's two things here. And I remember at one of our charity events, someone had asked, you know, how have you learned so much over the years? How do you get so fast? A big part of it when I really started driving professionally was the people I was surrounded with. It was my peers and teammates. Each of us drove each other to be faster. You know, if you can't have someone there to help coach you, just surround yourself with the right people, and also make sure that you're always a student of the sport.
Well, that's good advice. So, last question. What are the worst mistakes you've seen novices make at the track?
Going too fast too soon, not letting your brain warm up, and not letting the car warm up. I sent you those photos of that incident that I witnessed in California. There was a bunch of things that happened that day. There was a dust storm the day before, so the track was super slick. The driver's in 700 horsepower, just wicked Corvette with rear diffusers and slicks and wings and all of these really go fast parts. It was cold. The car was cold. His brain was cold. And it wasn't even before the green flag. Just slow yourself down, take deep breaths, and plan your day adequately. How he was feeling, the way he wanted to drive, shouldn't have even been touched upon until the afternoon. It was just, everything went wrong that morning. So for that driver, and he totaled his car. So take that approach. Go to the driver's meeting. They probably said, you realize there was a dust storm last night, right? So everyone be really careful. Loose dust on a polished racing surface. You've driven that track. It can be super slick there. So everything just went wrong that day. So you gotta be disciplined with yourself and make a plan for yourself. This session, I'm gonna warm up. I'm gonna run 8/10, 7/10. I'm gonna reacquaint myself with the track, get the line back. And yeah, I wanna go quick, but I'm gonna do that after the second or third session. Let everyone else polish off the track because they weren't cleaning the track that day. Let every other run group clean it off. So be a student of the sport. Just know you're not gonna go quick until lunchtime.
I think it's also like the mistake that a lot of people make is because they have limited track time, they have to spend every single minute that is available to them on the track and don't realize that maybe they should sit out the last session because they're tired and their brain has just stopped functioning.
Absolutely. This was pretty interesting to me. One of my heroes growing up was Scott Pruitt, who's a very accomplished race car driver. I got to work with him for the day doing hot laps and stuff with Lexus. And we were sitting on the pit lane wall and he addressed the group. So he's the celebrity of the group. So he's talking to all these esteemed VIP guests of Lexus. And he just said, hey, this is the last session of the day. It's 3:30 outside. This is the witching hour. This is when most things go wrong at track days. And he's like, interestingly enough, my biggest accidents in professional racing always happened around 3 o'clock. You know, people are getting tired. The other thing that I've been to some track events lately where you might want to sit out the last session because you're getting welded on. Remember Chuck Walla, the sun, it was pointless to be out that last session.
Yeah, you couldn't say anything.
Right. So how safe was that? Just know, I can't do this. So I know you paid for your track time, but if one of the straightaways is half a mile long and it's due west at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's not, where are you going to brake?
Yeah.
That's tough. The other thing is, at that point in the day, the windshields might have a bit of grease on it, dust, that makes it worse. So unless you're racing professionally and there's a big check coming your way, you may as well park it.
Yeah. Never do that last run on the ski slope. That's the way I look at it. So thanks for all that valuable insight, Kai. It's been really great, and hopefully we can get together again soon to discuss something else about driving on track.
Absolutely. I appreciated it and enjoyed myself.
Right. Well, that's all for today. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give us the good old thumbs up, and you can subscribe by pressing this button here. And leave us your comments below. Till next time, cheers.